Hello, my friends, and welcome to MSP Unplugged's Emerging Vendor Series. I'm your host, Rick Smith. Join us each week for this new series highlighting ConnectWise PitchIT contestants. Each episode will highlight an emerging vendor who is changing the game and making a big impact on the MSP space. Now, before we get started with this week's PitchIT contestant, I'd like to just make a normal public service announcement here, and that's for our upcoming event here at MSP Unplugged, and that's TechCon Unplugged, which is happening September 7th to the 10th in New Jersey, Woodbridge, New Jersey, at the Delta Hotel. Now, TechCon Unplugged is our annual gathering of IT business owners, techs, and vendors in the space. From there, you will learn from like-minded business owners in panels and breakout sessions, gain key takeaways from partners and vendors in the community. And my absolute favorite part of this is you get to experience those one-on-one and spontaneous group conversations where great friendships are built, relationships are cultivated, and ideas are exchanged. Now, tickets are on sale right now at techconunplugged.com. We are in the second stage of our early bird pricing, so tickets are now $299, and that's until June 30th. If you are a member of the MSP Unplugged community or you went to a previous TechCon, please feel free to send us an email at info@mspunplugged.com, and we do have a discount coupon for you for that. We look forward to seeing you there. Now, to get this kicking off, I'm going to bring in somebody that I'm sure everyone's familiar with, friend of the show, the ConnectWise economic evangelist, Mr. Sean Lardo. How are you, sir?
I feel like you missed your calling. You should have been the guy that hypes the crowd up for the NBA games. Now coming in.
Yeah, the hype guy.
They call him Big Daddy, 6'9", power forward, also known as Big Baby. I got you, man.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Can't complain.
I mean, as a Cowboys fan.
Oh, here we go.
Do you really think it was a good decision with Zeke first? Do you think, Okay.
I'm going to answer this question two ways.
Okay.
There's the heart answer, and then there's the true answer. Okay.
Uh-huh.
In my heart, I say no, you shouldn't have let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I still think he can contribute. I understand what it means business-wise. He was making way too much money. And if he wasn't going to take a pay cut, hey, it is what it is.
But then there's also the part where you have to give him the right line to do it too. And you did, you started to, and you guys kind of didn't then. And then you also took away a lot of the carries. I'm just saying,
I don't know, man.
When you buy a workhorse, the horse works. You make it, you give it work. And that's what he is. Legitimately, he is hands down one of the strongest running backs that we saw come out in the last decade.
Well, here's what I'll say. Jerry Jones doesn't care about my opinion, but I do think they will feel it as the season goes on when they don't have that workhorse, that short yard back to take his place or to do what he was doing.
But he wasn't even just a short yard back. When he played for Ohio State, he was running amok. If you watch him in the playoffs when they won the national title, he was averaging 225 yards a game against Alabama and those guys. He's a stud.
He is a stud, but I just think he I don't know if they want to say he lost his step. I don't know what happened.
But you want to give Dak all that money.
Hey. Anyway, moving right along.
Okay, great. Let's go.
All right. Now that we've got our football out of the way here, tell us a little bit about PitchIT and
speaking of competitions amongst running backs and whatnot and salaries. So yes, ConnectWise 5 years ago started a PitchIT program, right? This PitchIT program was really given the ability for startup vendors to come into the space that work with partners to compete for money, right? For prize money. So it is a Shark Tank concept. We have we ultimately will boil down to 3 finalists that will compete on main stage at IT Nation Connect in November. First place gets 70 grand, second place gets 30 grand. However, the program morphed last year. I actually took over the responsibility for the program last year, and the team from the ecosystem team and myself, with Andrea and Louie and group, they're the team I work with. They're phenomenal, and the goal was to change this into giving vendors staying power in our space, giving them the ability to grow with us, because we're looking for the best of the best, obviously. And the only way we can make, and just because you're not the best of the best this year, it might be a maturity thing for you to get there, right? So we created this accelerated incubator program. And this accelerated incubator program is really about every single week getting courses from people that are practitioners in a space that help them grow their business, whether it's sales and marketing, mergers, acquisition, integrations, operations, whatever. Okay, so each week they're doing this. So these vendors, not only are they competing for money, but they're allocating probably 4 to 5 hours a week to this program. So they're showing the staying power in their investment into the ecosystem. Because the important thing for us is these vendors are going to be the future of these MSPs users, right? That's who they're buying from, and they're in our ecosystem. So we're not vouching for them unless they're part of us. We want them to do as much effort as we in as we are. Okay. So, and even during the course of the 16 weeks that we're doing this accelerator program, we're doing videos like this with you guys to get them awareness, help them work on their speak, help them get interviewed so people can see them and hopefully go buy from them. That's what we want ultimately. So that's it in a nutshell. And one last thing is I don't judge anything. I'm no judge. I'm just simply I'm the guy that tap dances.
He's the guy, but not the guy.
He's a friend of ours, not a friend of mine.
Well, let's talk to someone who is participating in the PitchIT program. I'm bringing in here Mr. Bobby Jacobs. He's the head of growth at Thread. How are you today, Bobby?
I'm great. Good to see you guys. Love that you're forcing me to listen to some Cowboys talk. I'm from Houston through and through, giving you the H.
Oh, good.
So, not that I can say much about football, but I hate the Cowboys. So here we are.
Oh, wow. It seems to be the universal thing. I hate the Cowboys.
Wow. I mean, I didn't say all that.
But I mean, you can go at me about the Texans all day long.
I was in Houston. So. I was in Houston coincidentally this one night, and I was there for business. I spent the weekend there too to see some friends, and then I was at the hotel. It was like a Saturday night, and I was watching the Houston. It was a playoff game, Houston, Texas against the Kansas City Chiefs.
2017. No, wow. That was the last time we were good. Love it.
Wow.
And you guys got blown out by KC.
We won the first half, and then we didn't, and then our teams have been bad ever since. So
we won the first half.
Yeah, he won the first. Yeah,
and that's the last thing that we won.
There was a guy there, and he was like, "I bet that." I said, "There's no way that they're going to win this," and I was like, "Because Casey's too good," and it was in Houston, right? Yeah. And he's like, "I'll bet you $100." I'm like, "Okay," and then Casey obviously won, right? And then the next game after that was the Steelers and the Bengals playing, and it was the end of the game, and they were like, and we should have lost hands down. We were down by I think we were down by 8 points or 10 points or something like that, and the Bengals just fell apart. And he's like, "I'll take that bet too." I said, "All right, I'll take the bet with the Steelers." I already had the money. I already won $100, and then the Steelers freaking won. The guy's like, "Can you give me all the bets for me?" I said, this is all luck. I don't know anything.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Man. All right. Well, we've all ripped into each other a little bit. That's good.
Can I also just acknowledge the fact that I love that the title is the head of growth at Thread, and you're now bald. So I feel like it's like
you can only grow so many things at one time. You got to make a sacrifice somewhere,
So you're the head of growth, but no growth on your head.
I got growth on my face. I really just thought I wanted to go all in on PitchIT this year and, learn from the best. So, Sean, I copied the haircut.
That's good bullshit.
Hey, you got to give him credit, man. You got to give him credit.
I am. I give you so much credit.
I'm committed.
So, Bobby, I'm going to ask you this. Besides the fact that you suck because you hate the Cowboys, and you're a Houston fan, you're from Houston. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to Thread.
Yeah. So I have an undergrad in entrepreneurship in Houston. And so I was kind of in the startup space in Houston. I actually had a job selling IT hardware for a little bit out of college. So I got to know MSPs a bit more on the VAR side. But long story, maybe short, I worked at a startup accelerator for a little bit that LionGuard actually launched out of. And so I met Joe and Vin there and got to be an early employee at LionGuard. And man, I just fell in love with the MSP space. I got to go to a ton of conferences, hang out with a a lot of guys like Sean at bars and, get to just know this like really tight knit community that you can still build billion-dollar companies in. And, yeah, just, now like I can go on and on about how I get to help protect the world through helping MSPs every day. And like, I don't think that that's a stretch. While it sounds like really goofy and like Mickey Mouse, like I really think that LionGuard, Thread, most of the vendors in the PitchIT space get to really impact like all of small business in the world by getting to work with MSPs. So I love being in the space. I joined the Thread team about 8 months ago. I was kind of ready to go back to an early stage company. Again, studied entrepreneurship. So LionGuard doing great things, learned a ton from them, and got to join Matt and Mark, who are the founders of Thread. And yeah, super excited about it.
That's cool.
So go ahead. I'm sorry, go.
No, I was gonna say, tell us a little bit about Thread now and what you guys do.
Yeah. So Thread, we talk about the idea of service collaboration a lot. And there's two real pieces to that. The first is service delivery. So we're a communication tool at our core. We help end users chat with their MSP from Teams and Slack. There's a lot more to it from that. If you've tried chat tools in the MSP space today, whether it's through an RMM, through a PSA, through a plugin or something, they just don't work. Either because people don't use them, or the MSP doesn't respond, or it's not logging in the PSA, probably all of the above. And so like, that's the most simple core piece of it, is just integrated chat. But from there, once we have that communication, we're able to do all kinds of things, like give the MSP a super fun place where they can spend their time. They can do things like slash commands and app mentions, and we'll use AI to write all your time entries for you. So it's a really robust collaboration tool, but at our core, it's integrated chat.
I love that. I think it's so, I love the concept of communication is key, right? And I don't know, I'm not gonna speak for you guys, but I was on vacation for a few days, right? 6 days to be precise. I checked some things here and there, but I came back to 45 different Slack messages from 4 different Slack groups I'm in, to I couldn't even count how many Teams messages I have, to how many emails I have. So think about that. If you can put everything in one place and be able to grind through everything, how important that is. And again, that omni-channel communication is crucial.
Yeah. And I think like, Sean, you're talking about how you have all these Slack messages, whatever, like MSP Geek lives in Discord. Like MSPs are working in these tools, but the end users are forced to call and email 90% of the time. Right. Maybe you have a customer portal, maybe there's a chat on your website or something, but like customers are being forced to do these things so that process can be followed, right? Yet everything has to land on the ticket, which is great. Or you go the other way with it. Like I talk to MSPs all the time that have like shared Slack and Teams channels with their customers, and that's just chaos. Like they're providing awesome customer service, but they're sacrificing all of the process and everything they learned from ConnectWise along the way. Mm-hmm. And so, with Thread, you can do both now. You can meet your customers in Teams, but also if it's not in ConnectWise, it didn't happen.
That is so important when we operationally speaking and logistically, because how much information isn't translated. Like I stopped taking, I don't have a notepad anymore or a pen anymore. Yeah. Because I wasn't able to, I would write notes because I'm old school, and then I would never get to translating them. I wouldn't transfer them over.
Totally.
Right. No, because you're busy on 5 other things.
And you don't want your team doing that either, right? Like it's a trade-off. Like, how many times has an MSP said like, oh, my team doesn't do time entries, or they talk in Teams and it never gets back to the PSA. It's like, yeah, it's easy to criticize that, but at the same time, if they did all of that, you would lose so much time where they're servicing your customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly. That's the operational piece, right? Operationally speaking, you're automating certain elements of this to make it easier for my guys, the men and women that are doing the job, to do their job and focus on the customer, which is really what our first job is. Okay, so I've been doing presentations for years, right? Doing especially virtual, especially for years, and I turn everything off. And I've had employers that will get mad, like, you need to be on Teams messaging. No, when I'm on presenting, when we're having a conversation, this is what we're doing. Like
100%.
So that's the point, is that facing you as a customer is what I have to do first.
Yeah. And I think, how often are there like dead tickets where someone, I was just talking to an MSP right before this, and they're like, my customers email me and I call them and they don't answer. And then like, even though it just happened, I can't help them. And that's where we see like Teams and Slack is so cool, because maybe you have a ticket you need to follow up on. You're not sending an email and waiting 2 days for them to respond. You're chatting them straight inside Teams, because you can chat just like they can chat you. And that's logged on the ticket.
Absolutely. And I'd imagine that is, especially Teams, consider Microsoft, when it comes to the ability, Teams itself has already, Microsoft 365 is one of the fastest, largest growing suites to be sold ever, right? Every small to medium-sized business, almost every one of them own this now, right? So these suites are implementing. So, right, for the most part, right? Yeah, I mean, some people are still Google G Suite stuff, which is weird, but it happens. Anyway, so the people that are doing this, though, the MSPs are implementing this. So they're immediately teaching them how to chat on there. And we went through the stages of Skype to Slack to Teams. You know what I mean? So this is not new to us. So it's becoming a way of communication.
And by default, Teams is open. Like, I could message most people in Teams today into their environment. And that's happening. Like, MSPs are getting messages in Teams. And it's like the first week, it's like, oh, this is awesome. I'm just talking to my customers. And then the second week, now it's the 10th message you have. And to your point, like, you don't get to it. And now you broke an SLA, but technically the SLA was never initiated because the ticket wasn't open. But end customers don't care about tickets, right? They don't work in SLA time. Like, they're just going to be mad at you.
Correct. Right. And I think the other element to this too is that it's less, it could be less formal through chat than through email. Because when you write an email, you're constructing an email. It is a letter. You have to be very thorough and format the right way. Whereas chats are instantaneous. So it's one sent, like a text message.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Rick, just think about if we were to send 10 emails today, it would bleed into tomorrow, right? We're both busy doing other things. It's hard to send an email while you're on a call. Exactly. But like, I could send a Slack message right now while Sean's talking, right? I'm not doing that, but like, you could multitask. I'm a lot more likely to do that than send an email. And so that's where it's like, that's just super quick back and forth.
I agree. So, go ahead, Rick.
No, I'm just saying it's the live communication as well, right? That's what makes a difference. It's the live communication, because you get it, you get the message in, however you receive it, you give it back, and there's a conversation going on, and that is definitely better. Like, it's like we get a lot of tickets based on email, right? Or and then it's like you say, you call them back, they don't answer. You email back, then you got to wait 2 days for them to give you an answer back. And then you forget about it, because then your PSA pings you to tell you, hey, this ticket's still not addressed. Or they think you never answered them. So it's like you said, two good things I see out of that too is the live conversation portion, and two, it does get recorded in the ticket. So you can say, hey, we did, we are addressing this, we talked about it. And then, you understand what the issue is. It's right in front of you there too, because 9 times out of 10, when the client sends you an email about something's wrong, I hate to say it this way, but it's usually not what they say is what the problem actually is.
Totally. Yeah. And that's your job, but you have to be able to communicate to figure that out.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, IT guys don't typically want to talk on the phone either.
That's true too.
So
that's totally true.
Yeah. Employee experience is a leading indicator of customer experience. So if you're having to work ways that you don't enjoy as a technician, your customer is going to pick up on that.
Right. And it's funny because one of my technicians, he's like, I'll do the job all day. I just don't want to talk to anybody. He said, I'll answer every ticket that comes in as long as I don't have to call anybody or talk to anybody. And he is gone, I think maybe 6 months now. I don't think he's picked up the phone. Like, I will call him sometimes, and then I'll send him, hey, answer the phone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a problem if phone's like a primary communication tool. But if you have other ways that are great to reach people, then like, that's great. Now, I will say for anyone who's watching this as an MSP, you probably are thinking like, oh, I can't handle all of the chats I'm going to get, or like, I'm not able to respond to things as quickly as I need to with chat. I talk about that all day, every day with people looking at Thread. And you're right. Like, if you don't have a live help desk today that's answering the phone within a few minutes, if you just turned on like a basic chat tool, that'd be super hard. And so we do a lot of things to help the end user understand that while it's a new communication method, it's not an instant communication method. There's still a timer, there's an SLA, people are going to get to you when it makes sense to and that's a huge part of it.
So is there a way to eliminate some of the noise in that with your product?
Yeah, what do you mean by noise?
So all right, I'm assuming that it's a one-to-one almost. So if I'm the IT, if I'm tier 1 support today on, I turn on my stuff, I'm sitting there. Let's say I'm the overnight person, let's say, because that's usually a solo job, right? So chat's coming in for me, right? Mm-hmm. That where does the chat go to originally? Is it going to me or is it going to?
Good question. That's a big part of how it works, is the integrated piece of it. So when someone chats, they're not choosing whether it's creating a ticket or not. It just creates a ticket and it tells them their ticket number. So it's not saying like open a ticket. It's just saying chat. A ticket's opened. That exists in the PSA. It pushes into the MSP's Teams or Slack, but then it also pushes into our backend tool called Inbox. Okay. And Inbox is important because it's a real-time solution. It's purpose-built to manage chat, but every single thing that happens in Inbox logs to the ticket. So basically that ticket comes in, dispatch can handle it the same way. We've made some improvements, like we'll automatically prioritize the ticket using our AI. We're a huge OpenAI partner. Mm-hmm. So it's auto prioritized. It goes into the right channel. But then, you dispatch that or people grab it the same way you normally do.
See, you answered the question, the dispatching piece. That's what I was wondering about. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking 2 tin cans in a string, right? All of a sudden it's my turn to pick up the tin can. Right. Yeah. So I'm getting everything.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to say it is like, however, I would just ask the MSP, like, how do you handle incoming tickets today? It's the same process.
So you're building the for lack of a better term, you're building the chat path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you may handle that differently if you want to. Like you could have a quicker SLA on chat, but you definitely don't have to.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. As it integrates with the PSA, is it work with everyone or how's that work?
Yeah, like, today we do ConnectWise, Autotask, and BMS. Halo will be our next PSA, but you do have to have one of those PSAs to use our tool because we're not a ticketing solution.
Okay.
So I know I've talked with Paco. I think Paco uses Halo. Maybe Synchro. Okay, yeah.
Well, so you should be looking to. You should be having conversations with Alert Ops.
Yeah.
I mean, they're.
Why do you say that?
Because they're already solving for the automation for ticketing, and they already do an auto attendant for phone calls. So why not make a complementary chat auto attendant type concept as well? Have a call path and a chat path.
Yeah, we absolutely should. And we want to integrate with dozens, hundreds of MSP vendors. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's hundreds. I think there probably are. But in our tool today, you can do a / command and you can pull in an IT glue config. You can pull in a config from Automate or Avic. You can trigger actions. So, we're working with Roost and LionGuard and TimeTest and lots of potential integrations are definitely on our roadmap there.
Yeah, you need to talk to them. I'll make the intro.
Cool. Let's do it.
Hey, I want to shift gears a little bit. Now we talked a lot about Thread and what you guys do. Tell us about PitchIT itself, the competition. How I know you were in week 2, correct?
So now we're like in week 3, 4.
Oh wow, okay. I'm off.
3. I think it's 3. Yeah,
it's 3 because it kicked off for these guys the second week of May. Yeah, May 10th was our orientation. So this is So we're like 3 weeks into like the workshops.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's awesome. But go ahead, Rick.
No, that I'm sure you got more to say to that. But I just wanted to know, going in, as you're going through the process, I know there's a lot of learnings, a lot of training you guys are going through. So I just wanted to get your experience and what you think of what you guys have.
Yeah. I'm loving it. So I mentioned I have an undergrad in entrepreneurship. I was involved in a startup that raised a good bit of money 10 years ago out of college. And I went through a few accelerators when I was with that startup. And so it's really cool to be going through an accelerator with a company that's growing quickly and is doing all these things. That's MSP focused with like a lot of peers in the space. So yeah, it's fun because I have some experience with general accelerator stuff, but being MSP specific with people coming in that are almost all from the space that know the specific industry, the specific customers, like all the big players, that is just such a unique part of PitchIT and the community. Like, there's all types of accelerators out there, but a lot of them are not industry specific. And I think it's almost impossible to have something that's as tightly knit as what PitchIT has, where like we all have similar API integrations, we're all serving similar customers, we can integrate together and do webinars together like that. I'm loving that part of it.
Cool. That's good. Cool. You're the first person to say it like that, by the way. But it's a complete ecosystem play, right? And it's up to you to dabble where you need to be successful.
Yeah, and even like, Toyota has an accelerator program. Like a lot of big companies have accelerators, but even there, I would imagine that like there's not the same type of community. I think because we're like B2B2B and we all hang out at the same conferences and it's like a relatively small industry compared to Toyota, right?
Sure, yep.
It's so cool.
Well, and I feel that also, like you can use Toyota, but there's only so many manufacturers in that space. And then there's parts manufacturers, which is a much larger group of companies, I'm sure. But in this space, if you think about it, and Jay McBain, which is one of our Cameo coaches this year, he'll be talking about it, like how the space is and how much money is generated through the reseller space, and the percentage. It's like literally 96% of the world's revenue is pushed through resellers, right? And so if you look at what we have, we're all complementary. We already talked about Microsoft, huge organization, right? We've already talked about, we know ConnectWise is a big organization, not as big as Microsoft. But again, think about how many resellers are in North America alone and how many vendors are applicable to this.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And, so many people in this know each other from previous lives or previous roles. Like, seeing Larry Metter and PitchIT in my head, I'm like, how is this guy here? Like, he's done so many different things, but like he is working on a new project. So,
right.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
Dude, and I'll tell you what, Larry's probably one of the best people with pitching I've ever seen. So you guys are all in trouble, just so we're clear.
Like, for sure.
Like, I'm glad I'm not pitching against him. I'm glad I'm just a spectator in that case because dude is freaking good.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And just the heavy hitters like Callan coming in and doing the talk last week. And there's so much opportunity for future connections with the speakers and with each other. Like I'm talking to 10 other vendors in the space that I didn't know. And I feel like I know most people in the channel, but I didn't know. It's way bigger than it feels like.
Because we get siloed off.
Yeah.
In your segment of business. Like I've been blessed with working with all segments of business. So I talk to a lot of the people, but even with that, I still don't even know. Like I'm introduced to we have 27 vendors in this year. I heard of 12 of them prior to this. Legitimately. And I'm like, holy hell. It just goes to show you. And even of the ones I didn't know, I happen to know some of the people that were with it. I had no clue. So sure. I like that. So, okay. So what made you guys sign up for PitchIT?
I mean, I think it was a no-brainer. Like, it's hard to quantify that. Like, I mean, we work super closely with ConnectWise. We are a growing startup that, the prize money like that would be helpful for sure. We've raised a good bit of money, so it's not like it'd be the only money we have, but it would 100% be helpful. But I think more than anything, like the learnings, the resources, the connectivity with ConnectWise, but just learning from people in the community generally for sure.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Like, and that's what I said before you got on was we're looking for people in the long game of this. You're the future of the industry because ConnectWise is an anchor company.
Yep.
So the innovations we are innovating, of course we are, but the real cutting edge innovations don't come from the large companies. It comes from you guys,
for sure.
And
I think sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go.
No,
we're here for you.
A little bit. Go for it.
Oh no, okay. I was just gonna say I'm not in the competition, but I understand, and what I gather from talking to vendors who are in is the prize money is great, but the lessons learned, the values you get, the teachings, that's going to be priceless, right? That stuff you can take no matter what place you finish in the competition, or where you finish in the competition. You can take those things, apply them, and propel your business to the next level, which is what the whole purpose of this is for. So I just, I got to think that there's a lot of value there for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you guys both and a lot of people involved do a great job of helping us market and get our names out there, especially being smaller, newer companies. Like, there's a lot of resources that don't cost money, but they still take time to coordinate, being on webinars and doing all this stuff. And so that's a huge piece of it, is just like you guys using your name to coordinate and time and help us do this stuff.
And it does even the time costs money, because now you're pulling away from another responsibility.
Right.
And I agree. Like with Rick and Paco and Marv and all those guys, it makes it possible. So I'm glad, I appreciate that they have that they do this, because when I worked with startups, they were one of my vessels for generating revenue. When you have a very finite budget, and it's like, almost like this finite, you need the help of everybody. And that goes back to the community giving back. And that's like, that's a big deal. This is definitely a community function. Like all these Cameo coaches, they do it for free.
Yeah.
The head coaches, they're doing it for free. Luckily they're friends of mine. And I'm sure I'm going to have to pay them somehow, some way in the future. I'm sure I'm going to get it like 10
call it a favor.
Right. Like a big one. Like, I'm in prison, come help me, But yeah, no, it's a community. It's a community completely. So, and I'm glad you guys are part of it. So how do you feel your chances are to win?
I mean, we're pretty confident. We're pretty excited about what we've been doing. We just put a video on LinkedIn about how we got to our 100th service collaboration partner, which means like our full product using like all 5 major parts of it. So we donated a bunch of dog treats to a dog shelter. But all that to say, like, it's not like we're working with one MSP. Like, we do have hundreds of MSP partners today. We're growing. We've more than doubled since I joined a little while ago. So it's
nice.
We're feeling good about it.
Good.
Hey, so you're living up to that title, head of growth.
That's the plan. Got to sacrifice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the true growth of the company. I'm not talking about that. But that's awesome, though. And here's my little disclaimer. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm going to say that to every contestant, but I am rooting for you.
Thanks, Rick.
I love the fact that you guys have taken the time to do this. I know it's a time commitment on your end as well as ConnectWise end, and you guys are working hard to learn and really put an effort to win. And you definitely should. And I wish you guys the best of luck with that. And just sounds, it's an awesome opportunity. They need to make one for MSP, so for some of us who can learn to grow when we first start out. But we'll have another conversation about that.
Yeah, we have the Modes assessment. You have it. You probably never took it, but I'll give it to you again. Don't worry, buddy. It's a good start. And you're right. This is if the same rules apply for MSPs in growing their company and improving and perfecting it as the vendors. There's only 6 degrees of separation, legitimately.
Right.
Really, the only outlying factors that are differentiators for you guys between MSP and vendors is local to national to global.
Right.
Okay. It's how you get to your audience. That's one of the biggest differences. Internally, the dynamics are all the same, are they not? You have to figure out what you're doing, how you're talking about it, what problem you're solving, all those things, and then figure out how you're going to distribute. Right, whatever it is. The only thing that changes is where are you doing it? How are you going to find your audience? It's the only difference.
I love it, Rick. I think you should stay on this. Every call, tell Sean he needs to make a pitch it for MSPs.
That's funny.
Dude, actually, that's a good idea. Pitch it for MSPs that use ConnectWise and PitchIT vendors to perfect their business.
That'd be cool.
Hey,
almost like a science fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that'd be a commitment for sure.
I mixed all this stuff together and look what I got.
Thanks, Bobby. See, now I'm gonna push hard now.
I love it.
All right, guys, we're coming up on the end of our time here. So, Bobby, first to you. We've talked about Thread. We've talked about about your experience with PitchIT. But is there anything you think we left out, either about Thread or about PitchIT, or any final words you want to say?
No, I mean, yeah, two things. I'd say if you want to communicate with your customers better and provide awesome customer experience, check out Thread. And if you want to know about new technology, check out all the PitchIT vendors. Like, people go to conferences just to meet vendors. It's a pretty easy way to find a bunch of new awesome vendors in the space.
Agreed. That's a good call. And there's like 5 or 6 that'll be at Secure next week with me. So
Awesome.
by the time this comes out next week, right? This will come out next week.
This comes out next week. Yep.
So Secure will be over. So hopefully you stop by to see them.
Yeah, next show, all the shows.
Yeah, all the shows. Connect will have them too.
So let's talk present. Let's talk future present tense. Well, as this is shown, Thread is just ended, right? The
Secure
is just ended. Secure is just ended.
Yeah, Secure ends on Wednesday.
Yes. So
yeah, this is coming out Thursday.
So
but go to the PitchIT site. Just search PitchIT. Look at the 27 companies on there.
Exactly, or go to the marketplace, which we have the link for the marketplace where you guys are all.
There will be a link to the marketplace. You can learn more.
MSP should do the due diligence. Don't just get out there and start. What I hate is when MSPs bitch about something they don't look into.
Right.
Don't do it. Do your own. Do yourself a service by being diligent. Look into these things. Ask the questions you'd ask. Make sure it fits. There's not a one size fits all for products. I can go online and I can ask questions, and people will give me all their suggestions on what I should use. It's supposed to be what's right for you and your business.
Mm-hmm.
And what's right for you and your business isn't just a product. It's also the dynamic and the culture of who you're working with.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe that should be what PitchIT for MSPs teaches us. Because as you're growing, I'll just throw this out there before we sign off. But as you're growing, you think everything's the greatest product, and you try it because a salesman tells you that.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not necessarily that it's not a great product, but it may not be a great product for you, right?
Yeah.
Or
how do you evaluate technology well?
Exactly. Yeah, and you evaluate on several components, right? How does it solve the problem you're trying to resolve? But then there's the other part: is how do they work with me to make sure I can actually apply it or implement and be successful with it? And do I like my account manager? That's a big part of the conversation. Let's be honest.
A huge part of it.
It is. How many vendors have you stayed with in the past, Rick, that you hated the vendor, but the account manager was so awesome and they would get shit resolved, but you'd have all these problems, but because you can't trust the other half. Because if this company's that bad, their competitor's probably equally as bad. But the account manager don't like them. That's what you think. Like, it's
Stay with the devil, basically.
Yes, lesser to evil.
Basically. But okay, guys. I do want to thank you for your time today. I'm going to wrap this up here. So I'm going to invite everyone else here to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged or facebook.com/MSP Unplugged. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, hit that notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. If you think that these guys here, not me, but these guys have a face for radio, you can also catch us on your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. For Bobby, Sean, and I, like to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.
Toodles.